Connor.
Good morning, Yari.
Morning. What are you dancing today?
I'm actually dancing the score that I was playing with, working with in the world building workshop this week. And I think the first time I did it was in my master's, and it went really wrong. I didn't fully. I like it. I showed it as like a performative gesture, and I didn't fully think about how I would measure the duration of the thing. So I just kept looking at my watch, which destroyed any possibility of it to be read as
Mm.
anything but time wasting. Um, but I remember Caroline Beestrom. No, yeah, I think that's her name, or I hope that's her name. I remember she said that there was something there, and I've always wanted to go back to it because it actually comes from one of the first most influential like jobs I had, where I was doing like family constellation, this therapeutic practice with a Mexican shaman in Ireland, and it's basically just a practice of simple composition mixed with or with the use of a sort of somatic sensory practice of relating to one's felt self in relationship to others, like as an intersubjective body. And I find it so fascinating the subtlety of sensation and relation and understanding and knowledge that can arise from just simple compositional situations and positioning. So I'm very like I would like to go back there. So that's why I was like, oh, I could work with this and see what it does inside this workshop this week. So in a way, very concrete and practical. But how about you, Yari? Like, what are you with this morning?
Mm. I mean, I felt also a bit connected to what about your new episodes about the game,
Mm,
or which are the rules or systems that I'm using.
yeah.
And but there was something slow. There was something also about twisting my limbs. Or
Yeah.
not twisting, actually, feel my limbs
Hmm.
able to twist. It was not really the same because I don't think I really twisted, but I was like, oh, okay. The rotation is also possible in that way.
Hmm.
Hmm. And give me a feeling of, yeah, freedom. But I was also very busy with your monitor, with your video, like, oh, is he responsive on me?
Yeah, I was
And then
relating a
like,
little bit to this. Yeah.
and I was like, oh, did you just break his rules? I was trying to read on that, because the workshop, I mean, it's interesting that you speak about the workshop as also world building,
Yeah.
that it's very participatory concept, I'd say, but participation is also in relation about the audience that is in a world where you feel comfortable to move or to do stuff. And that means understandable word.
Yeah. 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 And speaks to knowledge, actually. I found this, I found it really helpful um, working through this. And in fact, I was a little bit like confused by, because at the beginning I introduced breaking rules quite quickly. And I was like, whoa, 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 I need to establish some before I start breaking.
Yeah.
Uh, and in fact, I think even right towards the end, I was like, I'm not sure breaking rules at this point mm, makes any sense. But I think I understand it like in the role of play, the
Yeah.
role that play has in improvisation and its necessity. Uh, yeah, it was very interesting. I had to think of David Graeber and Wengrow. They have this book called A Dawn of Everything, and so I think they're an archaeologist and an anthropologist, and they basically say how playful we were with our society making. So it somehow relates to that, right? We're sort of being playful with our world building, and in a way, they're saying like we used to be very playful with our society building. But they conclude by saying, but we're stuck. And like, why are we stuck? Um, why have we started to or lost the belief that these rules are just temporary rules to suit the what is happening.
Mm.
And I think one thing they speak about a little is like that in complex, large societies, we have been taught and learned to believe that control and order is the only way to organize such a complexity. And whereas they sort of make the argument that it's not the case historically, like there are other ways. And I think what's interesting is because it's not like making rules and having choreographies is a bad thing, but I think it's interesting to imagine what gets lost when we only um, imagine a society through that lens or imagine knowledge through that lens. And when knowledge is always something that can be explicit and told. Uh, um, yeah, and
Yeah.
how do we recognize the necessity for implicit and tacit knowledge? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when I heard your episode, it made me think a lot about, of course, when we are in the studio working for a piece, but in the very beginning, there is so much, everything is very open. And do we really react intuitively to order very often in relation to improvisation or working on the beginning of a choreography? But at the same time, we are also observing which kind of system we are using
Mm,
to kind of clean up, to kind of like go to a certain specific direction. Um, I also spoke about that I have this value sometimes about, oh, yeah, that specificity of a dance, no? In a way,
yeah,
it's also that.
yeah,
But
exactly. Yeah,
but in the other side, we are also speaking that dance is, it makes everything more, it breaks rules anyway. I mean, like, there is never really a system that can keep going from the
keep
beginning
dance.
of the,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah,
yeah, that's keep the same, basically, from the beginning of a dance until the end. There is some rupture. Um, Maybe they're not as much as they could be, like they're just more cleaned, but there's still like a lot of like step where
mm,
there is a disorientation now.
mm,
And what is happening now? Which rules are breaking, or
hmm,
why now there is a shift?
mm,
Uh, what is this new things coming in? This new person? In that sense.
yeah. I actually quite liked the structure of the improvisation that it takes us from just improvise and see what rules are emerging and then name the rules. And then what was the second thing was to do it again, but to do the rules, to follow the rules. So you move from a place which is open and playful to a place which is sort of more scripted. And I think, like I wrote in my reflection, like I guess there is a difference once the rules are established and then compared to before they are established, a greater sense of freedom versus a sense of control. So freedom with the play in the beginning, and then a little bit a greater sense of control and maybe specificity when the rules get established. Like I guess but it's like a subtle change there, and questions of preference start to emerge as well. Like once it's controlled, once there's a specificity, then there's a question of taste arises for me a little bit like, now I've established this, is this something I want to stay with? And what I also noticed was once the rule is established, there's a desire to stay there for a very long time to really feel how the rules are like affecting the movement, affecting the experience. Like what is the effect of the rules, and to give them time. And I found that really fascinating, how that from something which felt very like non-bounded by time, like I could just play. I had no necessity to remain there for an extended time. To once the rules were established, then I felt like, okay, to really understand this, I need to be with it for a long, long time, to see what patterns emerge and how they shift and change and how different approaches maybe and breaking or staying stronger with a rule affects them. It's almost as though it's harder to know the rules compared to the play, which is somehow like open and unspecific and uncontrolled, because it can be anything, so then it can be nothing. So it has the ability to get smaller, whereas yeah. But
I don't know if I'm jumping to something else, and I'm again taking the role of the audience in a sport game where they understand the rules, and the readability of the sport makes them so exciting somehow.
Yeah.
And it's a bit maybe like theaters, when you enter in a theater and you will now sit and enjoy. There is all this like security, but at the same time excitement for expectation. I mean, it's tricky to think about expectation of the audience and so on, of course. But what I mean that there is a frame that it's so clear and so readable and so also accessible.
Yeah. Actually, I think for me it relates really well to like, because I enjoyed the prompt of write a manifesto, because I don't think I've done that in a while, so I did it. I was like, okay, I'll write a manifesto, and I wrote improvisation is a world of tacit and implicit knowing. Improvisation shakes the foundation of the explicit knowing and makes openings for us to take care of and protect ourselves from forms of domination. Sorry, protect ourselves from domination. Domination's knowledge, sorry. What I am calling sort of a secret affinities. And I think it was Becky Hilton who really introduced me to sort of tacit, implicit, and explicit, and sort of trying to make distinctions, like when we're speaking about knowledge, what kind of knowledges are we speaking of? and I think it just felt really relevant to acknowledge that improvisation, it has this sort of tacit and implicit, so sort of unspoken, unacknowledged compared to explicit. And then how those tacit and implicit can sort of also be had and known, like they can be specific knowledges that exist outside of the explicit. Everything must be organized, rationalized, spoken, formulated for it to be valued as a knowledge. And improvisation begs us to spend time with knowledges that refrain from that and asks us to understand the specificity of the knowledge that is produced and ordered and understood through like affinities that don't move into the realm of explicitity. And dance, of course, has this because when you're dancing, you can't always be explicit with what you're sharing and what is being shared. Like you said, like I was trying to see if you broke the rules. You can't know unless I would explicitly say it. You can just find an affinity with the rule that I'm committing to or uncommitting to. And maybe it's even less visible than that again somehow.
Yeah, absolutely. I understand. In relation to make sure visible things or remind me the difference between tacit and implicit.
Yeah, tacit is felt and implicit is that you can still articulate it. I was thinking that actually towards the end of trying to like describe what I'm feeling. I think it's a little bit this that um in implicit you might still be able to say what it is. You're just
Yeah,
not, it's
yeah,
implicit.
yeah.
Like we whilst when we talk, we face each other. It's an implicit thing we do. It's an implicit rule. We don't have to say it explicitly, but we could say, "Oh, could you face me while we talk?" That's what I implicitly would like to do. Tacit is a little bit prior to that, where we're not even sure if we can articulate what it is. It's not even implicit in the sense that it could be made explicit. It's
Mm.
within the realm of it's a knowledge or it's something that's happening tacitly without our ability to fully comprehend
Yeah.
the knowledge that the body or our experiences sort of like
Mm.
has. I think,
Mm. Yeah.
yeah. And maybe there are some good examples for tacit, but I can't think of anything. Yeah.
There is there. It made me think also that there is a lot of exercises that we do in class or we do to train, and then suddenly they finish in the performance, maybe,
Hmm.
or suddenly they finish in a more without maybe not exactly the same, but like I wonder if there is also like how do kind of exercise
Hmm.
change our dance? And when I see dance, I still say maybe improvisation. I still say choreography that is not suddenly anymore as a rules, like because exercise has tendency a bit like like games that have goals, some
Hmm.
specific goals, basically,
Mm.
that are not in relation to playful. Playful is also the beautiful of games, and that also the goal is to enjoy.
Yeah.
Although very often the goal is to win, but enjoy is maybe even the ideal.
Yeah. I was listening to something about joy not long ago. Now I forget what it was. It's a description of joy. Um, but yeah, I forget. I forget what it is.
So, I mean, in a way, it looks really there is such a connection with games and performance.
Hmm hmm
Or Arabic.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I often would speak about it as like a contract that is produced with the audience. There's the contract which is sort of implicit, I guess, that we've learned how to do when going to the theatre. And then there is the contract that is sort of developed in the way in which the performance unfolds, and what kind of language it produces, what kind of attention it asks of the audience. And sometimes it's explicit, like sometimes I think it's really important to use explicit instructions with the audience to sort of really cultivate that game of how to watch and how to be with, how to dance with, how to share with the dance. Um, yeah, and because Savile-Leroy, right, has a had or did some kind of research in games, and I assume it's because of a similar interest as this one we're speaking of, the role of the contractual relationship with performativity or with performance and the audience.
Yeah, it glitched. Who did the
Is Savile-Leroy?
right. Yeah.
Do you know the game? I thought maybe you might know more about it.
Yeah, if I know, no, actually, I don't know. No, I
I
only
think
know a
it's
lot of
it's
like,
like a performance where I think he created a new sport, basically a new game, and there was this interest in
mm,
finding rules and then breaking them or playing with them.
mm,
Um,
interesting because I have this dream to make a performance where we make a dance together with the audience. And when I mean dance, like sort of
mm,
social dance, or
mm.
where suddenly we build a genre of dance.
Yeah. I like that. I mean, yeah, I, yeah. So I did a performance with Simon Vincenzi at the Barbican. I think it was called Naked Singularity, and we had, uh, if if any, we had very little preparation time, and it was a night of like a variety night of many performances. I think we had approximately, I think it was very short, but could it have been 1 minute on stage for Simon's work? And then the next choreographer would show 1 minute and then the next 1 minute or something like this. It was very like mm, intense. And so the curtain came up and there was many of us, maybe 30 dancers, and we just played that game of bomb and shield where you have to you choose two people randomly and you try to keep one person between you and the other person. So you have a shield that you try to keep between you and the other
Aha.
person. And so it creates, and everyone is doing this, so it creates this automatic dynamic in the room, uh, and it's a kind of game, right? Like play. Uh, it's also a game in this one. It's a game where everyone can find themselves standing in a line. Like if we have found a perfect combination, just by chance, there is a chance that we will line up.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it was interesting how yeah exactly it provided the ability for like an instant composition, which is kind of I can imagine working with an audience where you give them a rule like this, a task like this, and then that becomes the performance. Uh, I was also in a performance here in London again, and I was an audience, and the choreographer, I will look up their name. They asked me to come on. They asked 10 people, I think, if they could help them create this piece, and I volunteered. And then they asked that the rest of the audience leave the room, and then within maybe the space of 15 minutes, they created a composition, and it was ever so simple, like go here, slowly move to the floor, move here, start here, enter the space, stand, sort of very uh, easy to grasp. And then the audience came back and we performed it for the audience. The name was Seraphine 1369. That's who it was. Uh, and that was really interesting as well to see how quick you can make a performance and present it in a way
Mm.
compared to like I always remembered that with when I worked with choreographers who were of previous generation, how they had a belief or an expectation that we should spend a long time rehearsing. And sometimes I think I was trained or I'd been experiencing through the funding and the way the economy of dance was at the time, a sense that why do we need 3 months? What are we going to do in 3 months? We could do this in 2 weeks, this sense.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, it's,
which which just radicalizes this performance, which comes out of the UK, and came out, and the choreographer Seraphine 1369 or whatever, they were like very clear to say like I didn't have time, so it's really an economic thing of like I didn't have time to produce anything or something like that, like it had at least I had an understanding. Um, so going from 3 months to 2 weeks to 10 minutes, it's quite radical. That's a radical.
yeah, it is. But I mean, also, yeah, I mean, sometimes things come out from an old system, from an old
mm,
game. I'm just thinking about all the knowledge we have and how we are able to transform finding scores very fast that can make great performances. I'm thinking about the timing of a performance or of a project and how sometimes it drags and it brings anywhere
mm,
and how momentum are great for
mm,
dance. Maybe the dance. I mean, maybe I'm very busy with momentum and dance in that sense. It's like,
mm,
hey, how do we do that now? We have this time.
Yeah.
or we got this problem and now nobody really have a feeling of wanting to do it. I don't know. Or
Yeah. And like I was saying earlier, with the scores that I found, I I felt like, oh, I don't know them. You know, I found them in play, and I think if I stayed within that improvisation of the workshop and just kept improvising, I could stop anytime and feel like I had a full experience. But when I started to make rules and then I went back, I felt like, oh, I need more time to understand this. Like, because there was something about when it became a contract or a game that I needed to spend longer with it to fully understand it, if that makes sense. And if
mm,
let's say we take a technique and we pretend that it is a game, like Cunningham technique, right? You know, like it has
mm,
rules and things. And my experience of dancing that technique is that as much as it's been defined and articulated through generations of dancers and teachers and students and through Merce Cunningham themselves, teaching and articulating it through performances and through us watching those performances and understanding them, I still feel like that game, I still need to spend more time with it if I really want to know it. And I find that very fascinating, the this sort of open-ended nature of these games. Like, so like football is on at the moment, right? Like the World Cup.
mm.
And I haven't really been watching any, but when I do, I really get the sense of like, haven't we figured this out yet? Like, is there no is there no conclusion yet to like how this actually works? And the sense is like, no, it's always open. It's always it's always exciting for people. I find it very tedious, and maybe that's because I can't relate to that because it's clear some people find it infinitely interesting to see people again agree upon these rules and then try to figure them out and live within them and see what
Mm,
arises when
mm,
you spend time within them. Um, and they find it exciting when people find solutions and ways of um, reorganizing their body or reorganizing the group or tactics and all these things to like to remain within the rules but continue playing. And
yeah,
then of course there is all these conversations about like the rules themselves, right? Like, they should not have VR or
yeah,
whatever it
exactly
is,
right.
this like
Mm.
introduction of different types of monitoring the rules and keeping the rules in check. But it's a
Yeah,
strange phenomena that the whole world, or like a big proportion of the world, likes to watch these rules unfold and then see the results.
I don't think, I mean, the way you describe it sounds like, oh my God, this is super exciting. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh, I didn't know it was so exciting. And also you have comparison, comparing teams, comparing other judge.
Mm,
The also there is always this tension between the failures of the rules or the you know, what are the best rules like, but also like, no, that was a penalty. Oh no, this is under the line. And so we are really looking for ways to control as much as possible, thinking that this in theory will make everything better.
yeah,
Right?
exactly.
But it
Yeah.
is the excitement of actually say, no, that it is the doubt. It's also what it does
Yeah.
excitement in these people.
Yeah.
No, no, and also this question about being on the team. So if you're on that team, in theory, you're like, no, but that was penalty, and the other team, yeah, no, that was not. Like for what? What is this feeling of also like
Yeah.
taking position and be so problematically of course in a funny way
Mm.
for one side,
Yeah.
like,
And
oh, we take side.
yeah. And actually this maybe relates to what you were speaking about, creating a new genre. Is that, like when people like rock music, or if they like heavy metal or a specific type of heavy metal, especially I think I know from the metal genres, because there's so many micro genres, and it really is like a team. Like, no, 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 that they broke the rule. They played the guitar in the wrong way for it to be part of my team, part of my genre, part of my aesthetic preference. And because there are these people testing the boundaries of what of a genre, you get new genres born, and then people preferring that genre and sort of siding with that genre and
Yeah.
identifying with that genre. It's very interesting actually to make that comparison between the rules of a genre and the rules of a game. Um, yeah, so
Yeah,
that's
the
yeah,
games
it goes
games
back to
are a
your
bit more
beautiful idea. Hmm.
games are a bit more rude, I'd suppose. Like more like there is the beauty of genre and dance is that it builds by doing it. There
Yeah,
is no really power structure, or there are, but not, it's much more multiple
yeah,
that create that genre, that dance.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, that's why there is such a difference between what we can call academical dance, the stage, and the social dance.
Yeah.
There is such a difference because in the moment someone took it and putting on stage and start to create rules by themselves, like people start to do this more actively instead of letting the sociality shaping.
Yeah,
I mean, then they become very different, of course.
yeah, 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 yeah. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, in terms of
But I
authority,
love
I
I
mean,
lo
thinking about you, it's such a difference.
what do you mean?
Yeah, where like there is an anarchist aspect in the social dance.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Maybe in terms that the organization comes more from within, and
Right.
also it's also very all the time very discussed. It's not that the rules are totally
Yeah, 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 yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
it's
True,
a, it's a
true,
lot
true.
of you
But
never know where it goes.
I love I love your idea that in a performance situation, you could create a new genre with the audience. I think this is a really fun concept, idea. Yeah. Hey, shall we create a new genre now?
Let's do it.
All right, let's do it. I guess, sorry, just one last thing before we finish the recording. I guess there is within this question around rules and rule breaking and creating new genres, having a genre, having an aesthetic, there's a question of why, like, why are we doing what we're doing? Like, why are you dancing in the first place? And not to make the dance utilitarian, but to ask, what is it for? Like, how did it occur? What allowed it to exist in the way it does? And for those rules to benefit the situation that the dance happens and finds itself. Like, why are we dancing? Like, or why are we considering what we're doing as dance? Like, I think there's an element of that where a community or a group or a society begins to form rules and agree upon a certain activity and thing as being dance because it does something. It has a purpose within a specific context. And yes, perhaps new rules, new reasons to dance can emerge and form new genres, new aesthetics. Maybe?
Absolutely. New ways to express, to communicate, to enjoy, to have agency that are not yet possible but probable.
Yeah. Thank you, Yari.
Thank you.
See you next week.
See you, everyone.